Coming out of the Cowboys-Bills game, how do you feel? Two answers I will allow here. Number one is mad. Number two is disappointed. Try to pick one of them. Don't say B for both or N for neither. Of those two options, how do you feel about a very bad Cowboys loss against the Bills? We'll begin with the latest on the Zack Martin injury. Left the game with what I had thought was a quad injury, and that has been the confirmation from the Cowboys after the game against the Bills. The initial feel for Martin was, it was his knee. It was, I think he basically got drilled just above the knee, so I think we'll call it the old deep quad bruise, quad contusion injury is my guess there. Doesn't appear to be as bad as potentially initially feared or whatever. However, his status for Week 16 is uncertain and unclear at this time. It's been a not fun year for Zack Martin. His body has really been beaten up. A lot of body blows and more bumps and bruises than he is normally accustomed to. As the Cowboys' offensive line, honestly not as bad on rewatch as I thought. The issue was they had some very high leverage losses. That entire game, whether it was on offense or defense, high leverage moments, you seem to lose damn near every single one, which makes it tough to do anything on either side of the ball. Cowboys are mostly healthy on the offensive line right now. Matt Waletzko, by the way, is eligible to return in the not-too-distant future. In a tough situation to be in against a team that has had success getting four pressures, like Zack Martin got banged up, TJ Bass comes in, played about the way we would thought TJ Bass would have played. Again, PFF grades here because no one else does publicly available offensive line stuff. 55 overall, 52.1 in the pass blocking game. Had a couple really bad reps. The one rep he didn't even technically get the blame on because another guy got beat even quicker, which was, kind of indicative of the entire game. Better in the run blocking, 7.6. As we all know, the offense was a mess against the Buffalo Bills. I think the loss of Zack, whether they admit it or not, I think did lead to some mental issues there. Feels like they also got a little bit spooked and scared when Martin went down, and they kind of went to a more conservative offense like they did against Arizona. Doesn't work as well when they do that because they're not good enough to win that way against good teams. Offense had issues across the board. Coming out of the game, what is your current panic level over the Zack Martin injury? Scale it for me from 1 to 10. 1 on the low end, 10 on the high end. It is the pinned comment on today's video. The ad comes here on YouTube. Take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. There is, of course, plenty of blame to go around. So as part of the therapy session show we're doing today, we'll have that. I think even the most diehard Dak Prescott fans, believers, whatever term you want to throw in there, would agree that was bad. That was a bad performance from Prescott against the Bills. And frankly, the numbers made it look almost better than what it actually was because for some unknown reason, Mike McCarthy was like, yes, I do think we should allow Dak Prescott to play deep into this football game. That is a smart idea. It's not a smart idea. Bad game for a lot of different players in this one. A very poor performance out of the Dallas Cowboys up front. And on both sides of the ball. And the quarterback did not play well either. Now, I will continue to harp on this because I am a big believer in it. The 1 to 5% of the games and plays and throws and snaps should not override the rest of the majority. Overall this year, Dak has still played very good football. If I had shown you, independent of how the games actually went, because you're right to be mad about that game against the Bills, you're right to be mad about it, or disappointed from the other answer. If I had just shown you this, hey, 14 games, these are the numbers, you would have went, wow, that's pretty good. Oh, he's third in MVP odds? Oh, that's good. We'll come back to the MVP stuff here, because I have thoughts on that. But grade Dak Prescott this season. A, B, C, D, or F. Go vote. I've seen a lot of low grades. It doesn't make sense to me. This should be no lower than a B. I think we have to be objective from that perspective. Because for the whole year, they're really good. This is a very good play out of your quarterback. Wherever you want to rank him this year, anywhere from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7, 8, I guess, maybe probably not below that. It's really good. However, the bar is as high as possible for this team, for this coaching staff, for this quarterback. The goal is, 25 whatever teams would love to win a playoff game again. That'd be great. There's a bunch of teams who would throw $70 million to have a stable quarterback situation. They haven't seen one in 20-something years. What the Browns did, look how that turned out for them. They're still winning games now with Joe Flacco, by the way. The new MVP odds are this. Dak is now third in the odds, drops behind Brock Purdy, Lamar Jackson. By the way, Lamar, especially up to his MVP season, has not been nearly as good. Not been bad. He's definitely been a top 5 quarterback. He's not been nearly as good. I think McCaffrey should be much higher on this standpoint. But I always found it weird how people were saying they don't want Dak to win MVP for Cowboys fans, because the MVP award, fair or not, is directly correlated to winning football games. That is why the Niners and Baltimore's quarterback, who are the top 2 teams in football, are the betting favorites, because there's a direct correlation there. Now, I will say this as well. I would have much rather just won the game like the Bills did. I'll take the wins every time. I would have rather had, 7 of 15 passing and a win, because I ran the ball for 260-something yards. Issue is this team can't do that, hasn't been able to do it in, feels like a 6 years or something. It's not how they're built. So bad game against Buffalo. Concerning game against Buffalo. I don't think across the board we should be just only focusing on, 3 games a year. I think that's kind of missing the forest for the trees, or whatever the proper analogy is there. Now, today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. My picks did not hit last Sunday because I had Jake Ferguson and Tony Pollard more than, and that almost got backdoor with Ferguson garbage time, but they didn't throw him the ball early. Have it make sense. The bright side is Prize Picks is doing Picksmas, the 5th day of Picksmas. $5 for every field goal in the Eagles-Seahawks game on Monday night via Jake Elliott or Jason Myers. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100 on the largest independently owned daily fantasy sports platform in North America. It's prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. As we've said, plenty of blame to go around, and the run defense was a steaming pile of hot garbage against the Bills. It was a dumpster fire in every single way. As a run-stopping nose guard drafted in the first round, unsurprisingly, many of us mad at Mazi, and that is totally fine. He unquestionably gets a decent amount of the blame as well. It might surprise you to learn, again per PFF, that Mazi Smith was the 4th highest graded player, which is kind of interesting. The reason being, he had 2 pressures on 8 pass rush snaps and had the sack of Josh Allen. The run defense, as we went into, wasn't very good. Smith was not good against the Bills, and certainly has not lived up to the hopes and expectations of being a first-round pick. My problem is, it wasn't just him. Here are the run defense grades for the non-outside corners. So I didn't put Gilmore or Bland on there because, outside corners. Tank Lawrence played great, which, that's what he does. He's a great run defender. I've got the run defense grade, snaps in parenthesis. A nearly 30-point graded difference between DeMarcus Lawrence and your next highest graded player, Neville Gallimore, 13 snaps. Dante Fowler only played 4. Israel Mukwamu played 12, most of them late. He had 62.5. Osa Odigizua, Jordan Lewis were in the 60s. Mazi Smith and Carl Davis were in the mid-50s. That's not very good. Other run defense, and this is where it gets really ugly. Damone Clark was 53.7. Chauncey Golston, 49.8. Donovan Wilson, 48.4. Marquise Bell was a 44. Jaron Kearse was a 43. Sam Williams and Dorrance Armstrong were 43s as well. Horrible performances. Those outside runs for the Bills gashed them all day long. Wanye Thomas, 42.6. Micah Parsons was bad. They kept doing the slanting stunt stuff. It did not work. Rashaan Evans was even worse at off-ball linebacker. Mazi Smith was not good. He wasn't even close to your biggest problem on run defense. And that is highly, highly concerning. Highly concerning. So can we get to 178K subs before the next Cowboys football game? I think we can. We're only 212 away, although I think people might be taking some time off from watching videos. There's plenty of frustration there. I get it. Sub for more free videos right now. Who else stunk was Mike McCarthy. I have been plenty critical in the past and plenty praiseworthy for this little run that they went on. And it is very tough to win 10 straight games for 3 straight years. I will give Big Mike credit for that. It's a terrible coaching job against Buffalo. I am a believer, or maybe truther is a proper terminology for it there, that when everything's bad, like it was against the Bills, when it was against the Niners earlier this year, that's probably a coaching issue, right? Like, if it's not like it's just like, oh, one player didn't do his job. Nah, kind of everyone did. Coaching issue. I thought it was a terrible game plan. After the first drive, they stopped using all their motion. All the things that were like, all that the film nerds were like, oh, this is why this works. This is good. They just stopped doing it. Like they ran motion once in the other 3 drives in the first half. Once. Seriously? They went into this cowardly shell. They were so worried about the wind and the weather that somehow the offense got scared. I think the Zack Martin injury scared them too, by the way. And the defense also was unprepared for the exact same thing on offense. It's just like, really? You were so worried you pivoted on offense and then didn't pivot the same way on defense. It didn't make sense to me. Frankly, this was kind of a classic Jason Garrett showing. They were extremely conservative and shy on offense. And I've seen the argument that, oh, well, it's communication stuff. They can't do motion on the road. You're a fucking football team. You're really going to sit there and tell me an environment on the road is too tough to add motion? That's going to be our excuse? That we're 14 games into the season and we haven't figured out our motion communication? You move your leg back and the guy comes. That's all you have to do. That is such a ridiculous excuse. I refuse to believe it's a valid one. Because you're a professional football team. If you can't figure out your road communication in mid-December, what are we doing out here? There's no way you're going to have any sustained success then. Because that's ridiculous. If you're going to be in a constant cowardly showing like this, and your run defense can't get a stop, it's like the Rams playoff game a few years ago, you're screwed. It's never going to work for you. So figure it out. I hate my answer just being do better. But that's where I'm at. Do better, Dallas. Do better.